Our political reporter Samkele Maseko is covering the ANC NEC meeting and has been covering developments in the governing party throughout this week. He joins us now live. Brother Maseko, thank you very much indeed for coming on. Look, in summary, during your interview with Mr. Magashule yesterday, he said that the ANC has been factionalized, the resolution of the ANC has been factionalized. There are these dominant people who think they are the ANC. This is a quote from him. Reaction that followed. What are you hearing from ANC members?
Essentially, ANC members are saying that the Secretary General is fighting, it's either kicks of a dying horse, and that he's fighting a losing battle, as he openly admitted in that interview that we had with him, that there's a dominant faction within the NEC, and that faction is led by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Of the ANC is gradually being eroded by this new leadership of the African National Congress. It essentially tells you that Magashule is under siege within that National Executive Committee, and the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, is firmly in charge and in the driver's seat of the National Executive Committee. Also goes to say that he suspended President Cyril Ramaphosa because he was implementing the NASREC resolutions and saying that this current NEC step-aside resolution was effectively designed to get rid of him and Bongani Bongo, but proof to show that that may not be true, because if you look at Michael Mabuyakule in KwaZulu-Natal, who's a supporter of President Ramaphosa, he stepped aside, and it's not the first time that he stepped aside. You've got Denim Caesar in Limpopo, who stepped aside for 2 years. It goes further to say that Denim Caesar even provided a legal opinion to the ANC NEC on this issue of step aside.
So, Mr. Magashule also said that he will never allow any individual to take the ANC from him, even though it's a voluntary organization. He went on to say that he is waiting for whatever processes to unfold because he has appealed. And if needs be, he says, he's saying to the branches of the ANC throughout the country, relax, I am Secretary General of the African National Congress. Practically, how would this work today if he is to attend this NEC meeting? Give us a sense.
Since he's appealed, the ANC needs to clarify whether if you've appealed, does the status quo remain of your membership? Do you continue to perform your functions? What then happens? We do know that the National Executive Committee of the ANC, their meeting has now officially started. They first started with the officials meeting at about 8 o'clock in the morning, which Magashule did attend. Now the ball rolls to the National Executive Committee meeting. We do understand that there will be those in the NEC who will want to push for the harshest punitive measure against the embattled the Secretary General of the ANC, Magashule, who's put himself into a political and legal corner with the charges that he's currently facing, and particularly after the revelation.
Samkele, you still with us?
So it essentially tells you that the battle lines are drawn, and that Magashule is taking the fight to those whom are currently leading the governing party at the presidency and also at the presidency at the union buildings. It essentially lays down the battle lines for the 55th National Conference of the African National Congress, where it may well be Magashule versus Cyril Ramaphosa. Magashule says he'll only wait for the nomination of branches, but some. He is even alleged that this step-aside resolution has been designed to ensure the re-election of President Cyril Ramaphosa as the president of the ANC. But constitutionally within the ANC, if he stepped aside, he still remains the Secretary General of the party because he was elected at the 55th National Conference. The ANC leadership does not have the powers to remove any sitting official of the party. Only a special national conference can do that. Even a National General Council of the ANC cannot remove a sitting official unless if that official is found guilty of transgressing the ANC constitution and is effectively expelled and goes through the processes of the National Disciplinary Committee of the ANC, goes to the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeals, which ultimately seals your fate in the ANC, whether it expels you or further endorses the suspension against you. For instance, if you look at Marius Fransman, he was suspended for 5 years within the African National Congress. You look at how the expulsion process of Julius Malema, the suspension of the late Simiso Makaka, and the suspension of Floyd Shivambu's membership. It took the ANC from the National Disciplinary Committee to suspend them, further for suspend Julius for 3 years. Furthermore, Julius Malema appealed that sanction and went to the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeals, at the time chaired by President Cyril Ramaphosa, who was just an ordinary member at the time and chairperson of the NDCA, which is now chaired by Nomvula Mokonyane. So it effectively tells you that it's a tedious, long process that takes place over a period of a year or a couple of months.
Look, he did say during that interview with you yesterday, give me my legal rights, my organizational rights enshrined in the constitution of the ANC, the constitution of the country. When you're talking to legal practitioners, commentators, ANC members, they reckon he has a leg to stand on?
Look, you have to look at the issue of Matthews Poza, the former Treasurer General of the ANC, and the 5 legal opinions that were sought by the ANC, which had varying views. Some had said that the step-aside resolution of the governing party was not in line and was in conflict with the Supreme Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. That's the issue as Magashule even raises, that the Constitution of South Africa says you are innocent until proven guilty. And this step-aside resolution of the ANC effectively says you are guilty before you can even enter a court of law. It goes further to say that the NEC is the investigator, the jury, the judge, in everything of these issues of step aside. So it essentially tells you that the ANC itself is fraught with complication when it comes to the issue of step aside, because there are many legal opinions. There were 5 that were sought that were presented before the ANC, and ultimately the ANC took a decision that all of those who are charged must step aside in order to protect the morality and the integrity and the public perception of the governing party being serious on fighting corruption amongst its ranks. Ace Magashule goes further to say and allege that the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, the deputy president, and the entire top 6 said that they would even go as far as to go and support him in his court case, and said that that court case is frivolous and has no waters. And Gwede Mantashe came into the fore as the national chairperson and reminded them that there is a standing resolution by the NEC to disassociate itself of corruption and leaders who are charged with corruption, and that if the top 6 were to go and support Ace Magashule would be in conflict of that resolution of the 54th National Conference, which thus meant that those 2 leaders, the president and the deputy president, could not go and support Ace Magashule in court. And then he says that the Treasurer General Paul Mashatile and the DSG Jesus Duarte were then tasked to go and support Ace Magashule in court, but then ultimately they never went because of this ANC NEC resolution, and the people who went to support Ace Magashule must go there in their individual capacity and not capacities as NEC members, REC leaders, PEC leaders, but people must go there out of their own personal evolution.
You know, something that jumped out at me during that interview is that Mr. Magashule was saying that he's being followed, he's being monitored 24/7, he says. He says he's being bugged. And he also spoke about this car that was following him recently. He said that they want to jail us. One day you're in a police cell, you are poisoned. He said these are some of the things that they are talking about with former President Jacob Zuma. He said that then they will release you and after 3 or 4 months, you're dead. He said he was raising these issues, these matters with the leadership of the top 6. What's been the reaction to this comment?
Essentially, top 6 members have not responded to this interview. I've seen a few comments from NEC leaders of the ANC, those who are in support of Magashule and those who are against Ace Magashule. He goes further in that interview to allege that the government of the day and the ANC is employing draconian tactics that were used by the apartheid regime to banish people from addressing them. He says that he's been banished from addressing rallies, he's been banished from addressing ANC members and mobilizing. He says that he still has overwhelming support on the ground. That's an allegation that is put through. But one brings about to question, particularly after this morning when the ANC Women's League NEC meeting yesterday evening descended into chaos after their president, Bathabile Dlamini, tried to put in a motion to say that the ANC NEC must defer this implementation of the resolution of step aside to the 55th National Conference for further deliberations. That meeting descended into chaos as ANC Women's League NEC members were having none of it, in saying that where was Ace Magashule to speak out and protect women against the step-aside resolution when it was being implemented and women had to step aside. They were essentially saying, no, we are not going to be part of this. In fact, let me quote that statement verbatim. The Women's League says through its Secretary General Miyoko Matuba that they, quote, we seek to ask the SG to humble himself before the NEC and stop the tactics that he's employed, end of quote. That was the resolution of the ANC NEC meeting yesterday evening. They go further to say that they will not be part of the differences of ANC men who don't have the interest of the liberation movement at heart. So it essentially tells you that the Women's League has dumped Ace Magashule high and dry and has also gone further not to pick President Cyril Ramaphosa's side in the National Executive Committee. They are sitting it out and effectively tells you that the Women's League President, Batabile Dlamini, may have lost grip of the ANC Women's League NEC, which has effectively not opted to go with her motion to support the embattled Secretary General of the ANC, Ace Magashule, as he faces political turbulence in the governing party and further sanctions of charges against him for the utterances that he's made and for the chaos and confusion that he may have caused this week with that purported suspension of ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, which he says he was dismayed when he got that alleged suspension letter from the Secretary General, who didn't have the endorsement of ANC structures, whether it be the National Executive Committee, the National Working Committee of the ANC, or the top six. The President goes further in the parliamentary caucus of the party to say that this matter was not even ventilated in the officials of the African National Congress, and as far as it's concerned, it's null and void.
Samkele Maseko, SABC News political reporter. Come back to us as soon as you have any further developments. We'll get you back on air, give the viewers the very latest. Samkele Maseko there, live for us. Thank you very much indeed for your report.